I hope people are on. I have no clue. I cannot see you. You could only see me. So this is quite interesting for me as a teacher because I usually like to feed off the energy of the people, my audience. But let's go for this. Something new and different for me. So the name of this class is Through the Looking Glass, an empowering view of beauty and modesty. Now, I'm so happy that someone picked the title for me because I did not pick that title, but the title really was able to give me structure on how to present this information for you. So it speaks about this empowerment, beauty, and modesty. So those are the three things that we really want to focus on this evening. What is beauty? What is modesty? And then hopefully through our understanding of what beauty is and what modesty is, hopefully we'll get to that empowerment of us women that we so desperately need and want. So I'm going to present two dilemmas to you, okay? And we'll get to those dilemmas later on in the class, but I just want to plant a little seed. And, you know, I'm trying to make this very natural and comfortable. If you don't mind, I'm going to drink my tea while I give this class. I did make a bracha before, so we're all good. And it's cinnamon tea. Yum, yum. Okay, so these are the two dilemmas questions for you, okay? I want you to think about that, let it percolate, and hopefully through what we're discussing together, I would love to say, but me talking mostly, you will hopefully get some concepts and ideas. So the first one is, if you were getting ready for your first date, okay, you're getting ready for a date, what would you wear? Okay, how would you pick out what you wanted to wear for that first date? What outfit? What would be your focus? What would you think about? So think about that question. We're going to get back to it. And another thing I want you to keep in the back of your mind is this concept of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Now, this was an ongoing argument, even though my mother's going to say she doesn't remember. But yes, this was an ongoing argument that I used to have with my mother. She always loves when I quote her. And I had my outlook on that phrase, and she had her outlook on that phrase. And I want to talk about that as we move along in this class. What does that really mean? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And why did I have this argument with my mother about it? Okay, so only through understanding the beauty, the modesty, are we really going to get down to empowering ourselves. So I want to start with a very interesting quote, okay? I found this quote by Audrey Hepburn. She says the following. You ready? Listen carefully. The beauty of a woman is not in a facial mode, but the true beauty in a woman is reflected in her soul. It is the caring that she lovingly gives, the passion that she shows. The beauty of a woman grows within passing years. Audrey Hepburn, okay, everybody, okay? That's what she said true beauty is. So basically, what does that quote tell us about beauty? What is it telling me? What is it telling you? What do we understand from it? It's telling me that beauty is the reflection of my close relationship that I have with God, with Hashem. That's what my beauty is reflecting. It's striving to have God in my life and showing an outgoing concern for others. So basically, it's my outward versus my inward. That's what's happening here. This is what Audrey Hepburn is definitely. My daughter's here, everybody. I just have to say that. She's like my audience, and she's letting me know it looks good online. Okay. So I just had to put that there. Dedicated daughter, and I have a dedicated son who's going to even take pictures of me while this is going on. It's great to have a great family. Okay. So, and my other daughter's online, so hi, Yocheved. Okay, all the way in Brooklyn. Okay, I'm in Passaic, New Jersey. Sorry for that little intermission. Okay, so my outward beauty happens to diminish over time. That's what happens. My physical beauty is going to diminish over time. That's just natural. You know, my mother always says the alternative is worse. The alternative is, God forbid, death. So it's okay for my outward beauty to diminish over time. Whereas my inner beauty, that's the key here. My inner beauty is long lasting, and it can actually improve with age. Okay, so even though we like to say men get more distinguished looking as they get older, that's true, but for women, it's not necessarily the case. But in actuality, our inner beauty actually grows and improves with time. So what is truly valued in a person? So I know this is really blunt, but I have this saying that when you go to a funeral, you could really see what is valued. You know, I've been to several funerals. I don't many. I'm still young. I haven't been to so many, but I've been to plenty enough to know that at a funeral, especially for a woman, they do not say, "Oh my gosh, she died and she was so fat." No one's mentioning her outward appearance at a funeral. What you really get is the inner value of who the person is. You get to see the true beauty of a person when they talk about them at their eulogy. They're not talking about how many times she went to the gym. They're not talking about what she spent on her clothing. They're talking about our inner beauty, who we are as a person. But unfortunately, we happen to live in a culture that doesn't promote that. Our culture that we live in promotes the physical beauty constantly. There are commercials, magazines, movies, television shows. These programs are bombarding us with this concept, these images of models and nonstop entertainers that seem to have these perfect bodies, these exquisite hairstyles, perfect makeup, nonstop. I had a little talk once with my boys, my older boys. I said, you know, what you see on the magazines, don't expect your wife to actually look like that. Okay, it's not going to happen. Women don't really look like that. And it's important for us to get that message across to the youth. The media messages insist that to be attractive, a woman must have the slim built, symmetrical features, flawless skin, perfectly straight teeth. Now I happen to have good teeth, but my father's a dentist and so are my siblings. So that was very helpful. You have to have the pouty lips, right? Okay. Right. And nonstop in the pictures. How many times do we see the young girls? They call it the fish lips, but let's be real. It's not fish lips. Okay. We know it's something else. Long eyelashes and this youthful appearance. I'm not going to lie. I like to get those compliments. I think one of my most favorite compliments that I must have gotten, believe it, I'm human. I fall into this trap also. One of my most favorite compliments I think I got as a teacher was about maybe 6 years ago. And it was from a parent. And he said to me, you know, you look as good today as you did when you taught my first child the first year you ever taught. Now I've been teaching for 25 years. But so then it was like 20 years. And from him, he was a plastic surgeon. So I told him, from him, I'll take that, right? But so we fall into that trap from that media. And we begin to think that's what it is. We get into it. You have increasing numbers of women buying into these fallacies. It's ridiculous. If you look at studies of how much sales goes into beauty products, you'd be amazed. In 2016, you ready? It totaled $432 billion in beauty sales. And they project that in another 4 years, in 2024, it's going to hit $750 billion in sales just in beauty. So they're really tapping into our weaknesses. But all of that is not true beauty. That's not really what beauty is. True beauty is when we're free of this pride and arrogance and this self-centeredness. True beauty is not possible without having this humble mindset, this mindset that Audrey Hepburn was talking about, this soulfulness that we're meant to have as people. So in practical terms, we see that humility and a humility mindset, a humble mindset, that thinking is what's thinking of others, not just of my own needs, like she had said. We shouldn't vie for the spotlight. Now that's kind of hard for certain personalities. I fall into that sometimes. It's something, I'm a work in progress. We should be happy when others have successes, not always focused on ourselves. Even if somebody's better than us, we should be happy for them. Now, if we happen to be blessed with some physical beauty, that's okay, but we should try not to be conceited about it. Whether you're young, you're good looking, or you're older with all these wrinkles, that's fine too. The focus should be the same. The focus needs to be that we want to focus and develop our true beauty, the beauty that's everlasting. If we become more concerned about our outer appearances, you know what's going to happen? We're just going to be unhappy people. And that's what society is occurring today. We're so unhappy. We're still always trying to become more beautiful physically. You start to get depressed when you see signs of aging, when signs of aging should be a blessing. But if you focus on your godly character and building yourself up as a person and realize that that's what actually lasts, you'll bring happiness, authentic happiness back into your life. So how do we get there? So we said we were going to talk about 3 issues, 3 things. We spoke about the beauty. What's true beauty? Our inner beauty. And that's what's everlasting. Not this physical beauty. That's going to disappear with some time. So how do we get there? How do we focus? And our main thing is this inner beauty. How do I get to focus on the main beauty? How can we focus on true beauty? So that's where modesty comes in. So that's our next item on the list. Modesty happens to be a natural instinct. It is. It's really natural. And what goes on in society today is unnatural, believe it or not. This natural instinct is what can actually save us from ourselves. So how is this a natural instinct? So I'll tell you. Let's go back to the first people on earth. Let's go back to Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava. They first appear in the 3rd chapter is the story of the sin, but they first appear right away on the onset. They're created, and at the end of the 2nd chapter, the last sentence, the last verse of the 2nd chapter, it says, Shnehem arumim v'lo yitbosheshu. The 2 of them were naked, and they were not embarrassed. Boshu, busha, bet vav shin. They were not embarrassed. They were not ashamed. Now, why weren't they ashamed? It's natural, I'm telling you. It's a natural instinct to have the sense of embarrassment, to have the sense of modesty. So why weren't they? So the Torah explains to us that they lived in a world of something called emet and sheker, of truth and lies. That then when they saw their bodies, the body and the soul were one. It was one unit. And so if Adam saw Chava's body and Chava saw Adam's body, they were able to pass through the physical and see the inner beauty of a person. So there was no need to cover up. But unfortunately, as soon as they ate from the tree of knowledge, now if you look very carefully in the 3rd chapter, it's not this knowledge. People don't realize, they don't read the rest of it. It says, Eitz hadat tov v'ra, the tree of knowledge of good and bad. So what happens is, it's not like they were dummies, and then all of a sudden they ate from this tree and they become geniuses. No, they were pretty bright people. Adam and Eve were very bright beforehand, but they didn't have a certain knowledge. That was the knowledge of good and bad. That when they saw something before they ate from the tree, they saw it for what it was, factual. So they saw the beauty, the true inner beauty. As soon as they ate from the tree of knowledge, that was all clouded. Their glasses got fogged up, and there was a distinction between the body and the soul. And so what happened was, when you have that distinction, all of a sudden you got to cover up that body. And the busha, the embarrassment, kicked in. That's where the instinct first appears. That's where that modesty instinct first comes. And it's a little bit of a play on words. If you talk about the word for dress, In Hebrew, it's levush. Levush comes from the word bush, busha, embarrassment. That the clothing is there to cover up so that it could help us focus on what we need to focus on, to help us hopefully to focus on our inner beauty and not what's on the outside. So this was a sense, this embarrassment, this modesty was instinctive from the time of Adam and Chava. Amazing. Very first people. This sense of embarrassment happens to keep us in check. It's not a negativity. Unfortunately, today, people look at the word embarrassment as something negative. The concept of today's society is let it all hang out. Let's just show the world what we got. If you have it, flaunt it. That's really what they come across, and that's what the media is telling us. And that the outlook of modesty, unfortunately, is something that comes across as that you're not comfortable with your body anymore. But that's not what it is. You're very comfortable with your body, but you want to be more comfortable with your inner beauty. You know, as a middle school teacher, it becomes an issue quite often amongst the girls, you know, when they dress a certain way. And I start to feel bad for them that they have this body image, that they feel the need to show certain things off. And it gets me upset. It's painful for me to watch. So this year, I wanted to be creative. I wanted to think outside the box. How can I get across the message to my lovely students, my children? How can I get across to them the importance of self-image in a very different way? And so I had this idea of doing a fashion show. We have a big sister, little sister program where we partner up the 8th grade girls with the 6th grade girls. And I reached out to many designers, Jewish women. I really wanted to show the empowerment of women and how women could really thrive in the business world of fashion. And you could be religious and do it. And we brought in a speaker, and she really wowed the girls. And she then broke out that we were going to have a fashion show. And I had contacted so many women, and they started donating. They loved what I was doing. They loved the idea. And they donated clothing for this fashion show. We had Miyamad did it. Bird, New York, NYC Bird. We had Hannah Sufrin. Everyone got together, and they just started sending me clothing. And my office was full of clothing. And then the evening came, if I'm not mistaken, it was December 3rd. The evening came, and I rented a runway. My school rented a runway. We had lights, we had music. We had the girls trying on the outfits beforehand, and all the clothing was modest. And each girl looked gorgeous and felt gorgeous. We practiced walking down the runway. The mothers came. We had giveaways. It was a night that will never be forgotten. And I'm hoping that the message that got across to my young girls, my students, I'm hoping is that they saw that clothing is a two-way reflector. Let me say that again. Clothing is a two-way reflector. How is it a two-way reflector? It has the inside to the out and the outside to the in. So not only am I now presenting something, but my presentation is now something that's going to affect my insides as well. I hope I was successful. I thought they looked great. I think it's a night that they won't forget. Definitely won't be a night I will ever forget, because then my second daughter went into labor and I had to run to the hospital right after the event. So thanks for that. But she said, Ima, don't worry, wait until the event's over and then you could come. So thank you. Now, you could have a pretty package, but that pretty package is not going to mean anything without any inner strengths. So let's go back to one of my first questions. I don't want to keep you hanging for too long. One of the questions was that date. What do you wear on that first date with everything that we've been discussing? that if this clothing is a two-way reflector, what is true beauty? Our natural instinct is modesty. Our natural instinct is busha. What do you wear on that first date? So it happens to be, I'm very fortunate. I have a great, great neighbor. I'm not going to use her name, but she is a dating coach, natural. Okay? And she has really coached my children, two of my daughters, before they go on their dates. And one of the things she always says to them is on that first date, you want to play down your dress. We're not saying that you should look disgusting. You want to be attractive, but not attracting. So what does that mean? If you're a person that wears earrings, I do not. That's for a different class, okay? Do not have my ears pierced. Reasons. If you have your ears pierced, you don't want to have a lot of jewelry, a lot of pieces. You don't want your outfit to be loud. And the reason she gives is that on that first date, you want to have that impression of you as a person. You don't want the person who's sitting in front of you for an hour to 2 hours to be busy with what you are wearing. You want them to focus on you as a person. So that first date gives us a little insight to what clothing does, to how we dress. How does it affect that two-way reflector? So you want to give over a certain image, but you want to tone it down so that the focus, your inner beauty, shines a lot more than that outer clothing. So that's that first date. Now, what counts when you dress is your dress demonstrating body, or is it demonstrating person? Very interesting line. Let me explain that again. Say it again. Is your dress giving across the message that you are body, or is it giving across the message that you are a person? The impact of our dress really is about self-image, and that's only the beginning. Okay, I'm going to go one step further with it. The minute you go outside and you're wearing a certain outfit, people begin to respond to what you're wearing. I know on the holiday when I was walking home, I happened to have been by myself, and I was walking up a block, and I saw some neighbors that I hadn't seen in a while. And I said, hello. And right away, they said hello. They're being neighborly. But then somebody said, oh my gosh, that's you, Jordana? I didn't recognize you at first. You look like a teenager. Now, of course, in my head, I was like, yes, yes, right? Because naturally, that's how we're feeling. And, oh, I like your outfit. Oh, I like your style. It starts to wear off on us. It impacts our self-image of how we present ourselves, how we're going to hold ourselves. It just has an effect on us. So the way I dress reflects how people are going to respond to me. And then how people respond to me starts affecting my self-image. So this self-image is constantly being formed and reformed through my contact with other people. So now this knowledge is now going over to the empowerment, because that knowledge begins to empower us. As soon as I got that compliment from the neighbor, if I happen to have been, just let's say, if I happen to have been in a bad mood, I happen not to have been, it's very rare that you'll find me in a bad mood, but let's say I was in a bad mood. As soon as I heard that, what would have happened? It would have changed my mindset. It would have influenced me, would have helped me to be in a different mindset. So it happens to be yesterday. I was a little nervous that I was going to wake up and not be in the happiest mood. So what did I do? I said, what am I going to wear today? Because I wanted it to reflect more, to work on my inside, because I was nervous. Okay. So I put on a nice shirt, a nice skirt. And as soon as I walked into my kitchen, right away, my son says, Ima, you're looking good. So what did it do? It already affected my insides. You know, if you wake up not feeling so good and you're sick and you have a cold, one of the best ways to help you feel better, besides chicken soup, tea, and Tylenol, okay, another thing to do as a woman, we get dressed, we become presentable. You put on some makeup, you put on a nice outfit, and it begins to affect your insides. It affects how you're feeling. What you want to focus on, what you want to tap into is your neshama, your soul. That's key here, tapping into that inner beauty. Now, you are a soul. Your soul is your essence. You have all these abilities. You have a body. You have capabilities. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. You are a soulful person. And the dress and your modesty is going to enhance what you are. It's going to bring that out more. And that's what's important. Judaism for sure encourages us to look good. That's a given. But it's about not flaunting it. That's key. Because if you flaunt it, you lose that inner beauty that you could have, and you're not allowing it to shine. You want to be free from that poor self-esteem that media is bombarding us with, their focus of that physicality, of that fake beauty. The more you focus on that beauty, the worse your self-esteem, believe it or not, becomes. And if you could focus on what's true, that is your true empowerment. So I want to remind us all of a story of something that happened back in 2009. It was on Britain's Got Talent, okay? There was a woman, 47 years old. Her name was Susan Boyle. Okay, as soon as I said that, everybody should remember, yes. How many times have you watched that video of Susan Boyle's audition on Britain's Got Talent? I am guilty, and I'm not afraid to say or embarrassed to say, because it's empowering. It's a great life lesson. So just let's review it for a little bit and humor me for those people who maybe didn't see it. But as soon as you get off of this, definitely YouTube Susan Boyle and her audition. So what happens? She walks onto the stage, Susan Boyle. She's unmade, unkept, not fashionable at all. You know, if you want to say she's a little plump, not what we would say is acceptable in size per se. And she gets up and everybody's making faces. The judges are making faces at each other. They even span the audience and people are snickering. Oh, you know, oh my gosh. Okay, what is this lady doing up here? And she starts to talk. And even when she talks, you're a little taken aback by the way she talks. And she explains that she wants to become a professional singer. So that even gets the judges even more skeptical about it, okay? No one's believing what this woman could do. Then all of a sudden, Susan Boyle opens up her mouth and begins to sing. And she blows the audience away. It doesn't take long. It's after just a few notes. This plain-looking, middle-aged woman without any sense of style had this magnificent voice. And when she was finished, you know what the audience did? They stood up. She received a standing ovation. People couldn't stop applauding. What happened when they saw her? Everybody wrote her off. Her appearance is what blocked them. That's what we do as people. Our glasses are clouded. Coming back, way back from Adam and Eve. They've clouded everything from eating from that tree. And so we naturally write people off by how they look. And we don't go past it. What this story, this Susan Boyle this story became so popular because it helped us realize that we're wearing the wrong glasses. That's what this story did. And that's why it's so important to always and review this YouTube video and remind ourselves that we need to take those glasses off, throw them away. That's what we need to do. We have to go back and remember she had this beautiful voice. And everyone, we might not have a beautiful voice, but we all have a beautiful soul. We are all beautiful souls. And how are we going to let our beautiful souls shine? How are we going to let our inner beauty shine? By having this modesty. This natural instinct for modesty enables all of us to tune out those media messages and to tune in to what's real. It helps us tune in and fine-tune our true beauty. It helps us see the qualities that King Solomon talks about in his poem of what an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, truly is. It helps us see that the qualities that a woman should have of wisdom, courage, creativity, business sense, profound insight to recognize how to relate to individuals according to their specific needs. That is what true beauty is. That is what soulfulness is. That's what we see. How women, as women, contribute to society. How we're not just this physical, we're far beyond the physical. This has become a tragedy in today's society, that it's become unrecognizable. Now, if we could just focus on our caring nature, our true expression of caring, and if we as women could see that we are valued, and if we can make sure that women are valued and see value in ourselves, that would help so much more than the media messages that we see out there. We have to see our contributions to society, our contributions to our home, to our families, to our communities. We need to recognize our true beauty. You know, usually we perceive things simply on the surface. That's how things are. Let's say, for instance, you want to buy a house. You right away pull up to the house and you look at the house and is it a good roof, siding? Is the lawn manicured? Now, if you would buy a house just based on the outward appearance, you'd be an idiot, okay? Just on the outward appearance. But when you step inside that house, you begin to ask other questions. One of the famous questions my mother taught me to ask is, does a house have potential? What does she mean by that? Does a house have potential? Can you see beyond what is right in front of you? Can you see yourself in that house? Can you see enjoying holidays with your family? Can you see raising a family in this house? Can you see once the family gets larger that it has potential for growth? That's just a house. That's an object. Can you imagine if we're talking about a human being? That's just a home. Every object has different levels and layers to it. Human beings are no different. We are multifaceted. We have many layers to us. When we first meet a person, step one, I first meet somebody, you first meet someone. Upon that first time you interact, the first thing is the physicality. That's the first thing you see. That's why when we talk about that first date, you want to downplay the outfit. Now, the second time you meet somebody and you get to know them, the second step, you get to know them a little bit more, you start seeing, oh, are they artistic? Are they athletic? It's not just about their physical appearance. And then you get to step number 3 and you get to know them a little bit more. You're able to see, are they emotionally complex? Are they highly abstract thinkers? You see that people have different levels. There are a number of ways to view a person. What modesty does, it begins to help us look past step 1. It helps us look past the superficial aspect and the layers of a person. It helps us get to the deeper self. It helps not only us to see somebody else deeper, but it helps, remember, it's that two-way reflector. It helps me see myself deeper. So how do you convey that message to others? You need to instill it in yourself first. You want to draw the focus on your beauty, on your true identity of who you are. So you want to transform your outside, the layer, the self, to express your inside self. And so you want to get away from what Adam and Eve fallen into that trap. They clouded that vision. You want to go back to when we could hopefully focus on the soul and get through. But if we can't, you have to realize that our clothing, our modest clothing, is what's going to help us as like a crutch. It's like a coping mechanism, right? How to help us see that true beauty. Covering your body, therefore, is the most fundamental way. If you cover yourself in a modest way, it's the fundamental way of using your outside to tell the world what's really going on in the inside. Clothing makes a statement. It just does. It says, I am much more when it meets the eye. If you want to see the real me, you have to get to know me and you have to look deeper. What we often fail to realize is that the message of clothing is directed not only on the outward to others, but also it's directed on the inward. What you wear powerfully affects how you see yourself as well. So you want to empower yourself. You want to really strengthen yourself as a woman. You want the world to see your inner beauty. You want to radiate the message that you are first and foremost a person, a being, not a body. You want to focus on that inner beauty. You want to portray an authentic version of yourself. You want to make sure that you are a dignified person. And when we talk about dignity, you know, there's a special law. It's so interesting. In the Torah, it talks about a soldier. And that when a soldier goes out to war, one of the things he has to carry with him is a shovel. Shovel? What is that all about? So the Torah explains that when you're a soldier, and you can lose your sense of self very easily in war. If, God forbid, you have to kill somebody else, the way you live can be very depressing, camping out, not seeing your family, you're really distant. You become more animalistic, unfortunately, because of war. But God says, I want you to carry this shovel because, you know what? When you're out in that field and you're going to have to go to the bathroom, there's no toilets. You're going to have to use the ground, the field, the forest. I want you to cover it up afterwards with the shovel because first and foremost, you're a human being. You're dignified as a person. That's what's important. That's what you need to know. Okay? And it gives this message with a soldier, how important human dignity is. Even when no one else is around, you connect to God. That's what it's giving over. So let's go back to this concept of beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I told you that I had this ongoing argument with my mother of beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Okay, so what was this argument that I had with my mother? Okay, what was going on here? So the argument that I had was my mother would say, beauty is subjective. That's what she would tell me. And I would say, no, as a teenager, I'd say, no, beauty is not subjective. I'd tell her, it's objective. Because why was I saying it's objective? I used to tell her, you have these models, Mom, and look how much money they're making. So obviously beauty is objective. The whole world is saying that woman is beautiful. And that's how she's making all this money. If the whole world doesn't think she's beautiful, she wouldn't be the supermodel, obviously. So it was very ongoing with my mom. You know, she was like, okay, so what was my mom trying to tell me? My mom was trying to tell me the following. My mom was trying to tell me this message that I'm giving over to you tonight. So isn't it so important we should listen to our parents? But unfortunately, when we're younger, we don't always listen to our parents. And we only see sometimes the wisdom afterwards. And what was my mom trying to tell me is that true beauty is in the inside. She wasn't talking about the physicality. She's talking about the inner beauty. And it's in the eye of the beholder. How's it going to be in the eye when someone beholds me, when someone truly sees me through the proper looking glass? That's the title of this class, through the proper looking glass. That's when you see the true beauty. That's when you see the true essence, the soul of a person. That's when you see what makes us as who we are. And this sense of embarrassment, this sense of modesty, this instinct, this natural instinct that we have, this is what keeps us in check. So let's go back to this title of our story. That we have beauty, we have modesty, and this empowerment. That this concept that our modesty is going to keep me going. It's going to really be this two-way reflector. It's going to help the world see my true beauty, but not only help the world see my true beauty, it's going to help me. It's going to help you see your true beauty. And how amazing and how empowering is that? When you see your strengths, when you see your true soul, when you see your true beauty, and you see your true connection with God, you can't get anything more powerful than that. So I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight and listening. And I want to thank Project Inspire and everybody, all the other live streaming locations. And I really hope that you enjoyed. And this is kind of difficult because I love takeaways and I love to hear from my audience what resonated with you and what meant a lot to you. So if you happen to know me and you happen to follow me on any type of social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, and you want to just send me a comment or send me a message, or you want to email me at jbaruchov@gmail.com, I'd love the feedback. And I once heard, it's not feedback, it's feed forward. I love that comment because that's also very empowering for me to know I am presenting the message correctly and that you took something from here and that it's something that inspired you and helped you become a better you, to become a more soulful you, to become a more beautiful version of yourself. And I'm going to wish everyone good night.